item 11, the homelessness and rough sleepers strategy. Who's moving that?
I formally move that, Chair.
And I'll second it.
Chair, might I say a few words before you open up for questions and debate?
Please do.
Obviously, it's a great privilege for me tonight to bring this report to Cabinet. It's been long overdue. It's been a very comprehensive piece of work. It's not the first time that the Council's had a homelessness strategy brought in front of the Cabinet. It's the first time that we've had a homelessness strategy that's been aligned with a rough sleeping strategy. So it's a new initiative that we've been given by the Government and a major piece of work. We've undertaken quite a robust and rigorous review and we've consulted widely. Homelessness is rising with trends likely to continue. We've seen in this town alone large numbers of people in temporary accommodation, a larger increase of homelessness applications. Whilst we focus on prevention, we're having less impact than last year, unfortunately. There has been some successes which are clearly earmarked within the report. Bromley Cottages, I have to start with, making a real difference to people's lives. We are making use of our scarce property and private sector property when required. I have requested officers to eliminate the use of permitted development at Central Ford's house, and I will keep this under review. I know that the Council has requested a requirement to change the law in this regard and to stop local authorities discharging the homelessness duty in Harlow at unsuitable housing conditions. We are revigorating Harlow Homelessness Partnership, making sure all the right agencies are there and that we target resources and energy in tackling this homelessness and rough sleeping. Clearly, this is an issue that Harlow Council can't tackle alone. I've certainly learned in my time under housing, particularly in rough sleeping, that it's a very complex issue and people become rough sleepers for very many issues. So partnership working is a very important part of this policy and strategy. You will see that we've put more resources into our homelessness team. In the last 2 years, this administration has put extra money into tackling homelessness as the increases. Whilst I'm proud of this strategy, Harlow faces significant housing challenges and tackling them is an essential priority for this council. Homelessness will rise over the coming years, and whilst we are proud of our achievements to date, we have been successful in bidding for government funding to tackle rough sleeping. And we have seen numbers reduce as a result of the innovation that we have within the housing service. But we need more housing. Generally with housing that is generally affordable. The housing register is rising at an alarming rate. We need governments of all persuasions to prioritise housing and funding to address this crisis. You will also see from this document that we've had 3 lots of consultation which are appendixed to this report. We've consulted quite widely, including a consultation with members of this council. And I'd like to place on record my thanks to members from both sides of the chambers that attended this consultation, and I can assure you that you'll see many of the ideas that come forward from a very successful consultation go forward. We also consulted with users of these facilities. We also consulted with all our partners. It was a very rigorous piece of information. We are fortunate to work with local partners, for example, Streets to Homes, who share our commitment to preventing homelessness and rough sleeping. And we thank each of our colleagues as we could not achieve the success we have already without them. I noticed that we have Kerry Eastman here tonight from Streets to Homes, who's played a major part of this strategy and played a major part in this town in helping us remove rough sleeping and homelessness from the streets. I'm very pleased to endorse this policy and strategy, knowing that it addresses significant challenges that we face, the resource constraint, and focusing strongly on partnership working. Finally, Chair, I'd like to thank the officers, Cara in particular, and her team that have put in a tremendous amount of work into this over the last year or so. It's a very comprehensive document on a very important subject, and I'd like to place on record my thanks to all the officers and Cara's team that has put this really good article together. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Carter.
Thank you. Just a couple on, and I will be making some comments afterwards. I have given notice of these questions. The first one is concerns a comment on paragraph 17 of the government report. It's something to which Councillor Wilkinson has already alluded to. But it's why we place people in Templefield's house. Is there nowhere better that we could use? And how long do our residents have to stay there?
Thank you. I think Councillor Carpenter's question is a very relevant question. Obviously, with pressures put within this council on temporary accommodation, we have to see what's used. Consideration is given to space, design, facilities and location. Due to the ongoing increase in local housing need and the acute shortage of suitable housing, the council have currently used a small number of units within Templefield's house. The council is reviewing this at the moment, and as you will see, I've already stated that we've asked officers to stop using Templefield's house as temporary accommodation. We're hoping to do that in under 2 years, but I do stress we're hoping to do that a lot sooner than that. But within 2 years, we certainly will make a commitment to stop using Templefield's house. Due to the changes in the homelessness legislation, and in particular Homelessness Reduction Act, and the new duties imposed on local authorities and the qualifying conditions of the allocations policy, we no longer have an average time for an applicant to be raised in temporary accommodation. Whilst I do certainly agree, I think, around the table about the use of permitted development, it is also worth noting that we have not discharged our duties towards the people that we have placed in the permitted development, unlike the London authorities have. Thank you.
Thank you for all the comprehensive reply. Just as a sort of detailed question on page 38 of the agenda, there's a table there on the main causes of homelessness. It always worries me when there's a sudden rise in the other category in 1819. I'm wondering if there's some explanation for that.
Thank you. Since the introduction of the Homelessness Reduction Act 2017, the Council had to invest in a new homelessness IT system. It has taken some time to embed the new system and develop the software to ensure that additional reasons for homelessness were included in the software, which was being fully developed. Other than the main reasons for homelessness, all other reasons are documented within the reasons category. For the year 1920, we are aiming to ensure that all reasons are broken down and reported specifically, rather than listing reasons for homelessness as other.
Thank you much.
Any other questions? Anybody want to make some comments? Councillor Charles.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome this homelessness strategy, and I have a few comments I want to make about the general principles and some of the issues that all councillors face in their duties when they come up against difficult situations, particularly casework, where someone is in a position, perhaps a crisis at home, where they are unfortunately placed in a homelessness position. I have two particular cases that stick out to me in Old Harlow, where one individual, it was literally the final week of the Christmas period, was homeless in the freezing cold, and called me in desperation because they hadn't been able to get through to the council. And I'm not passing blame onto the council or anything like that, but what I reflect on that case, when we eventually did get through to the council, is that we always need to be mindful of watching out for where we have these cases, particularly in winter months when it's very, very cold, that we're able to identify these individuals that may be vulnerable to homelessness and be in a position where we can respond rapidly to support them. And I'm sure that all councillors would recognise that. The second case that sticks out to me in particular is when you have individuals who are very sadly suffering a mental health crisis. And in that situation, where they are homeless and perhaps agencies have struggled to manage their behaviours and they feel that they've got nowhere else to turn, the types of interventions that the council, in support of other agencies, to actually manage and support those individuals is really vital as a community leader. And we should always be mindful of that, where we have individuals who very sadly are in that situation. And I know that that is reflected in this strategy, but I just wanted to reflect on that because there are 2 individual cases I've dealt with in Old Harlow, as I'm sure other councillors have, where this has come up. But more broadly than that, I think that there needs to be a very clear pathway, particularly when I have worked with a particular church on their homeless project, which I've done for a number of years now. Those individuals that are, who do have certain mental health issues or other health-related problems that have contributed to their homelessness, that we have a pathway, a very clear and distinct pathway where we can try and help them as much as we can to re-enter society, if I can use that sort of language. I know that it is referred to in this strategy, but it has to be crystal clear between not just the council but other agencies in order that we can achieve that. I'd also like to pay tribute to Kerry Eastman, who, as everyone knows, does a fantastic job for this town, and the charity itself that empowers individuals where it can to change their life course and see a different path for them. And it's a celebration of Kerry and her team that they've been able to change many lives in this town, and we should always recognise that. But I would also just pay tribute to the churches who I've worked with, and I know that other councillors and former councillors have continue to do so, because they are there in the winter months supporting those individuals and offering them somewhere to stay. And that is a credit to our town, it's a credit to civic society more generally, and that's why I principally support the main and key features of this homelessness strategy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Wilkinson has probably sort of taken away a number of things I was going to say, and I fully support I think almost everything he said. It is a very comprehensive, well-presented report, well-researched, well laid out, and easy to understand. And on top of the thanks to the team, I'd also like to thank Amanda Lucas, our design team, for the graphics that she's put in there. It is a well laid out, and obviously appreciate all the work that's gone into it. But it doesn't detract from the seriousness of it. The previous speakers have already gone into the issues. The council and its partners, especially Streets to Homes, have been working hard and well together to deliver the solutions that the people require. And I'm very pleased to see Kerry here tonight to see this report going through, and also to hear the compliments being paid to her and her team. I understand that Ms Stevens actually made a presentation on Bromley Cottages to a conference in Birmingham. Was it last week? Yeah. So, you know, we are getting there. We are getting there. And I have to say, from my time with Streets to Homes, which does go back quite a long way, Harlow is one of the best served towns in the eastern region for helping homeless and rough sleepers. It's not an easy task, as Councillor Joel has mentioned, and I must also commend the various teams for their patience, doggedness, empathy, but combined with professionalism in helping the most vulnerable. So, you know, I think you probably work out I actually support the strategy. Now I come to the difficult bit. Before others start to try and blame the present situation on austerity and Margaret Thatcher, I will just make a few comments. As Councillor Wilkinson has already acknowledged, it's well recognised in this chamber that no government in the last 35 years has built enough houses to keep up with household growth. And we do need more houses. It doesn't matter whether council housing, social housing or private sector, we need more houses, and we need to push through, and particularly the council needs to push through with its building plans. We all condemn the permitted development conversions, but it's worth remembering that 1,000 households have been placed in modern accommodation. It's the fault of the referring councils that they do not choose the most appropriate accommodation for their tenants. And the other point is, where would those people be living otherwise? It's a little over 50 years ago that the BBC broadcast its marketing played a day about homelessness, Cathy Comes Home. It tracked the fall of a couple with young children from employment at a nice home down to sleeping rough. That was in 1966, when Councillor Downers and I were studying A-level economics at Burt Mill. Coincidentally, Shelter, the housing charity, started the same year, and Crisis, another homeless charity, started the following year. So homelessness and rough sleeping is not a new issue. It's not a party issue. No party has covered itself in glory on this issue. We all have to work within the resources we have available, but we must make sure those resources are used to their best effort. And this council will achieve that with this strategy.
Any other comments?
So much, no one else has got any more comments. Okay, first of all, I'd like, if Cara wants to supplement any of my comments, obviously she has more detail than I do, but there was some really interesting comments there by Councillor Charles. It's quite interesting, Councillor Charles rightly mentions about people in the cold, and it's a very subject close to my heart, but I think it's worth us remembering and singing from the rooftop that we have a severe weather protocol in this council that actually last year we extended to 4 months. And an issue that I know I've taken up with the leader of the council, and he's taken it further. I think it's worth noting that we're the only local authority in Essex that has a severe weather protocol, and that is quite a shame for many authorities in this county, and I think it's something we need to look at. I think Councillor Charles is also quite correct to talk about mental health. Rough sleeping, as I said in my opening remarks, I've discovered certainly over quite a few years now, it's a very complex issue. It's not as straightforward as some people do. And one of the things I'm really pleased about within this report, you'll see a graph with a list of many, many partners that we're working with. And what's really good, and I understand the comments about the graphics, because the graphics are really good. It's a jigsaw, but within that jigsaw, there's pieces missing. But that because it's a never evolving jigsaw, that at a later stage, we can add another piece of that jigsaw with another partner. And that's quite important in this document. It's a working document and we need to make progress on it. And you know, there's obviously been some comments made about streets to homes, which already I've echoed, and I'm certainly well aware of my views on the subject. But I think it's actually worth thanking a lot of the partners that are also involved with the partnership that we have. It's not just us and streets to homes. I said earlier that the council can't fix this on its own, and no one's ever going to fix this on its own. You're only going to fix this issue working with partners, and that's more than sort of 3 partners. There's a whole raft of health authorities that are involved in our partnership, various issues. There's alcohol and drugs partnerships that are involved with those issues, and we need to really work together closely with all partners to try and drive this important forward. Now, unless I've missed anything technical that can't note, okay. Thank you very much. That's my summing up. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, do we accept recommendation A, the updated Harlow homelessness strategy?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you.